They say the brightest skylines hide the darkest midnights. Nowhere did that contrast feel sharper than in Dubai as the calendar tipped into 2026. Fireworks scribbled light over the Burj Khalifa, music thundered across rooftops, and champagne made easy promises. Yet in a corner of all that glitter, a man who has lived under spotlights since the 90s felt the ground give way beneath him. That man was Cenk Torun. The face from 1,000 nostalgic memories, the gentleman of Turkish screens with a calm smile and old-school charm, found himself standing in a celebration that suddenly tasted like ash. Welcome back to the sanctuary of deep storytelling, Turkish series stars. Today isn't about shallow whispers. It's about taking apart a feeling, layer by layer, until what's left is the truth that everyone was afraid to name. We're talking about a rushed return flight, a decisive rejection, and a message that sealed a door for good. This is a story of Cenk Torun's exposed heart and Mahassine Merabet's unflinching resolve. Before we step into the moment the illusion collapsed, ask yourself, are you here just to peek through the window, or have you taken a seat at our table? If you crave narratives that honor the tangle of real emotions, subscribe and stay with us, because your presence powers the way we tell these tales with cinematic depth. Now, come with me to the instant the mirror cracked. For Cenk Torun, the design for New Year's Eve was straight out of a high-end dream. Dubai, with its steel and glass ambition and late-night deals, offered a stage where a veteran star could enjoy applause without pressure. The plan was simple. A cascade of elite parties, friendly toasts, and a pause from the heavy work of being an icon people never stopped comparing to his younger self. But when the clock struck 12, the night did not deliver glamour. It delivered a message. Not from the crowd around him, but from a screen glowing in his hand. Mahassine Merabet, the Moroccan beauty whose grace drew admirers from Istanbul to Casablanca, had posted a photo. She looked effortless, calm, and more luminous than she had in a long time, leaning toward a man no one recognized. The caption carried a tone that rippled with hope. Within minutes, the comment sections were a bonfire. A mystery man, a fresh beginning, a private joy, words that fed headlines and fanned the flames. For the public, this became speculation with teeth. For Cenk, it was a mirror he could not dodge. Her serenity was everything he lacked in that moment. The image told him what he'd been avoiding. He had stayed still while she moved forward. Witnesses at the Dubai soirees felt it. The way he grew quiet. The way his half-smile faded into a faraway stare, as if the music had retreated to another room. He stopped contributing to conversations, stopped performing the easy charisma that had always been his shield. The lights around him brightened, but the night turned dim inside his chest. Unable to breathe under the neon weight of a city that never blinks, Cenk did something his entourage didn't expect. He shut the door on the parties, on the networking, on all the possible contracts and partnerships that had brought him there. He chose the flight home. There was no strategy in it. There was only a flood of feelings, old, repressed, stubbornly alive. A sense that if he didn't take control right now, he would lose the thread of his own story forever. Within hours, he was headed back to Istanbul. At the airport, the scene broke from the usual script. Cenk, who can normally turn flashing cameras into friendly sparks with a few disarming words, let the shutter clicks pass over him like cold rain. When reporters called his name, he didn't wear the protective smile. He exhaled and gave them one line, stripped of polish, "My heart is hurting, and so is my soul." Then he moved on. No witty deflection, no joke, no crafted statement. Just one truth, naked and heavy, hanging in the air long after he was gone. The moment the jet touched down and the city's winter air met his face, the drama left the crowd and climbed into a single device, his phone. Cenk reached for the one person who could explain what the photo meant, but that wasn't really all he wanted. He asked for a meeting. Not for a scene or a scandal, but for a table, 2 chairs, a conversation that could pull up every root they'd buried. He wanted to look at the past without flinching, the promises that frayed, the moments they didn't handle well, the silence that shaped them more than words. He wanted, perhaps, to ask for mercy. He wanted, certainly, to ask for closure. What came back was not a bridge. It was a wall. According to sources close to both, Mahassine replied with a message that was crystal and steel at once. Her voice in text was calm but immovable. She told him that the pages where their story lived were sealed, that repeating old patterns would only dignify a mistake, and that she was stepping into the year with a life that no longer needed echoes of what once broke her. She said she had turned the page, this time for herself, not for the audience. Let those words ring. Sealed pages. No repeats. A different life. She was not teasing a will they won't they epilogue. She was stating a fact. The grief had been processed. The future had been claimed. In a single message, she didn't just turn down a meeting, she closed the door on the sequel so many had been writing in their minds. The aftermath for Cenk has been total quiet. For a man whose social media usually serves as a collage of work, fitness, friends, and the occasional dip into nostalgia, the feed went still. Those close to him say he's pulled back, choosing early mornings over late dinners, reflection over chatter. The phrase that haunts him, when repeated by the gossip pages, boils down to this: you only get to make certain mistakes once. Maybe he underestimated how thoroughly she had healed. Maybe he overestimated how much time he had left to ask for a second chance. Meanwhile, the picture around Mahassine is bathed in a new light. People near her swear that nothing about her happiness is suspicious or staged. It isn't a sudden pivot, it's the result of months and months of careful, inward work. She has been selective about where she shows up, mindful of who gets access to her peace, and fiercely protective of what she is building. As for the man beside her in that photograph, his name is kept off the record with deliberate care. Not to taunt anyone, but to guard something that finally feels simple. She is not sprinting. She's walking at her own pace. And in a world that mistakes privacy for arrogance, that quiet may be the most elegant comeback of all. The public, of course, has split itself into two loud camps. One side applauds her steel spine, calling her answer a manifesto of self-respect. They insist she owes nothing to nostalgia, that healing sometimes looks like staying away from what once felt like home. The other side, those who've held on to the daydream of Cenk and Mahassine finding their way back, plead for compassion, arguing that vulnerability deserves grace, that famous hearts deserve a do-over like anyone else. But her message carried a finality that even the most romantic corners of the internet can't spin. Industry insiders are reading this moment as more than a private heartbreak. For years, Cenk's image has carried traces of a classic leading man, a calm alpha presence who seldom lets the mask slip. This silence feels different. Is he dismantling the persona he built, brick by brick, until all that remains is the man beneath? Or is he stuck in the paralysis that late regret can deliver? The kind that steals your voice and your sleep? The gossip world is watching, holding its breath, wondering if the text was the period at the end of their sentence, or if time, ever sly, plans a twist we can't yet see. If you listen closely, you can hear two paths parting like a fork in a quiet road. On one side, there is a woman who chose herself, walking forward with steady eyes and a heart that refuses to live under old shadows. On the other, there is a man staring at the remnants of a bridge, realizing too late that he would cross it barefoot if he could. Life is not a series that courts us with cliffhangers and promised reunions. Sometimes a finale is not a comma, but a period. And when the credits roll, it's not always accompanied by applause. We will keep an ear to the hush around Cenk and a respectful distance from the glow surrounding Mahassine. For now, their shared story belongs to yesterday. Thank you for stepping into this emotional landscape with us on Turkish series Stars. If this journey shook something loose in you, if you felt that stunned quiet after her message, tap like and tell us what you think. Was she too unyielding, or did she simply protect her peace with the firmness it deserved? We want to hear it. And if you want us to keep bringing you narratives that others gloss over, consider hitting the join button. Your support keeps this theater of real feelings alive. Until next time, honor where you've been, but don't chain yourself to it. The past can be visited without moving back in. And yet, before we close the book, there's a detail worth lingering on, the setting that framed it all. Dubai, for Cenk, was meant to be a respite, a place where success speaks in the language of glass towers and impossible islands. He didn't go there to make trouble for his heart, he went to rest it. But hearts are inconvenient travelers. They don't check schedules. The photo's timing was merciless, and in the blink that followed, he realized that the life he'd tried to keep peaceful by ignoring certain truths had already been replaced by one where those truths had been faced. That is the part that makes you swallow hard, the idea that while you're preparing to ask the right questions, someone else has finished answering them. In quiet moments now, those who know him say he circles back to ordinary things. Going for slow walks, cooking familiar meals, calling old friends he hasn't spoken to without a camera nearby. Grief, when you strip it of spectacle, looks like everyday habits performed with more care than before. And those who know her say the same. She's laughing a little freer, reading scripts with a sharper sense of what projects feel aligned, keeping her voice for places that don't treat her like a headline. That balance, his stillness and her lightness, tells you everything you need to know about the distance between them. It would be easy to rewrite this as a neat parable. He waited too long, she grew too strong, the end. But real stories are ragged at the edges. Maybe there will be a role he takes that mirrors this chapter, maybe she will surprise everyone with how gracefully she protects what she's building. Maybe in 10 years, they'll nod at each other across a room and feel nothing but gratitude. For now, the truth is simpler. She closed the door without slamming it. He is on the other side, hand hovering over a knob that no longer turns. If you were hoping for a last-minute detour, for the grand gesture at an airport where the speech changes everything, this isn't that film. This is the one where the leading man tells the press his soul hurts, and the leading lady writes back that her life has moved to a different chapter, and both lines are honest. That, in its own quiet way, is a form of grace. Because clarity is a kindness too, even when it feels like cold air on a fresh wound. So we end where we began, under a sky filled with fireworks that aren't meant for anyone in particular. They burst and vanish, the smoke drifts, the city hums like nothing happened. But something did happen. A man learned that nostalgia is not a plan, and a woman proved that healing isn't a performance. Somewhere between those two truths is the lesson the rest of us can use. Don't wait to say what needs to be said. Don't return to what asks you to be small. And when the page refuses to open, accept that it is not yours to read anymore. We'll be here, watching the new roles they choose and the silences they keep, bringing you what matters and leaving the rest alone. This chapter is finished. The next one is theirs to write, separately, with pens that no longer share ink.